Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. The graphic photos and videos from dead bodies that have been dumped in hospitals in Tanzania calls for a moment of reckoning for the leaders, even as the protests surge. The Standard seemed to have captured it right. What's happening in Tanzania is not neutralizing protest or protecting power, but what looks like a well-coordinated massacre of the Tanzanian young people. And the scenes mirrors what happened in Kenya 2 years ago when Gen Z raised their voices against the finance bill. And in this podcast, I will demonstrate to you. I know some of these videos are very, you cannot even share them because of how they are really zinashtua. But I try to explain that the youth revolution sweeping the continent is a moment that African leaders cannot ignore. And instead of dismissing it by the killings, it is a point to retreat and listen. Because the strategy African presidents are using is not going to be effective in the long run. Kindly subscribe to our channel and our Tanzanian brothers and sisters. Tunawaombea sana na tunatumai kwamba Mungu atawasaidia, na poleni sana kwa haya yote ambayo mnayapitia. Nimeona sana baadhi ya mili ya vijana, watoto na wamama, ya mili ambayo inashtua sana. So also guys, was just reminding you, just giving an update about a project that we're doing. It is still going on, by the way. Bado inaendelea for the house we're building in Migori for single father of four, Bildad. Bildad had a very, a very bad experience. He got involved in an accident, came back home. The wife was supposed to be of support to him, left, remarried, and he was now forced there to take care of the 4 children and had to do the manual jobs just to provide for himself. So life really stretched him. And when we came in, we opted that our intervention at the moment, because he had a very bad house that could not even be good for him. So we took it upon ourselves to build a house for him and also for the children. That's why that project is huge, because remember, we are putting up 2 houses. So it is currently going on, and we are only now waiting for the other part, the last bit that remains. After the house is complete, we want to pay fees for the children and also make sure that we open up some business for him, so that hata tukimfungulia hata kama tumemjengea, but we still leave him with something to do. And those who can still partake of this, that is the part that is remaining.
Niko chini, hapa ndio nyumba yangu, niko na watoto 4 hapa. Sasa naomba tu kama mnaweza munisaidie nipate nyumba mzuri. Juu hii nyumba yangu hata iko karibu kuanguka. Na hapa ndio nimelala na watoto. Haki naomba tu kwa unyenyekevu na moyo wa Mungu munisaidie haki.
Food, fuel and cash shortages hit Tanzania following the protests. The images of bodies lying in Tanzania are heartbreaking and terrifying. All these people, what they simply ask for is a fair system and a chance to be heard, an opportunity to choose who they want to lead them. What unfolded, as I mentioned, is a coordinated massacre planned and executed by the Suluhu administration, which otherwise was supposed to protect the right of its citizen to differ with them. The blackout of electricity and internet seemed not to have happened as a coincidence. It was part of the plan to hide. It's part of the plan that really played, and it really didn't. It made the killings to be not to be reported. Remember, even the media could not get it. This was a state-sponsored. It looks like a well state-coordinated slaughter. Someone must be held accountable, and I know that when I'm asking for more, African leaders don't get it. I want to make it I want us to look for a couple of some clips here, some photos here. Look at this frame. This is a frame of young people had converged around one of the comrades that had been killed. These photos are very terrifying. These are children. I remember when I say this, I remember how our brothers and sisters were lying in parliament simply because they asked the parliament to not to pass the finance bill. The dead bodies of how people used to converge, and that's why some of us, those are the things that some people want you to forget. Bodies are dumped, stashed in some sacks and dumped in hospital. Photos. This is another photo that has also been trending. If you check across, you'll see some of these photos, and Tanzanians have really been reacting, just talking about what exactly it takes or why they cannot be heard by the administration. Kenyan teacher John Okoth Ogutu here was also shot and killed on October 29th in Ubungo, Dar es Salaam. His body now lying at Mwanyamala morgue in Tanzania. Something seems to worry me here, and when I'm looking at those videos, I'm telling you, I checked those. I have quite a number of them in my inbox. I cannot tell you, even if you ask me to send you, I cannot send you those photos. They are not things that, in fact, I had to watch and delete some. They're not really in good shape. They're photos that will show you what's happening in Tanzania it should not happen. What's wrong with police and special force? What is wrong, really? What is wrong, really? Kwani, what is this kind of orientation, or what is this kind of training that policemen in the continent undergo? The ease of killing, the comfort of killing. No, you see photos where some have been hacked by pangas, some have been shot in the leg, some shot in the cheek. Like I saw one video where someone was shot in the cheek, and so his colleagues were carrying him and they were taking them there. And you know, the people are seeing are actually the brazen killing by the state is already inciting the masses. They are seeing their colleagues. They are seeing their colleagues. People, the way you're there with someone, the next minute that person is dead. It is very scary. Na poleni sana, yani Watanzania, mimi nimezitizama zile video ambazo zinatoka Tanzania, na kwa kweli nadhani mnafaa kusikizwa, hata kama ni kulinda serikali, kuhakikisha kwamba labda mama hajaondoka mamlakani, lakini nadhani kwamba, manake yule rais ni mama, pia ana watoto. Unajua mama ni mtu ambaye alizaliwa na utu. Akiona watoto wanafa vile, sidhani kama ni jambo ambalo linafaa kuachiliwa. Please, let me finish my Swahili version there. Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu is supposed to be sworn in tomorrow, the 3rd, in Dodoma. Something interesting about this swearing in, the ceremony will take place in a military ground. I don't know, that is what the Constitution says, but no members of the public are allowed to attend. Explain to me, like my PP1 girl or PP2 girl. She's in PP2, yeah? Like my PP2 girl. How do we win an election because according to the electoral body there, Samia Suluhu got 98% of the vote, translating to 31 million out of registered 37 million. How do you win an election with 31 million voting for you, and out of these 31 million voters, not even one voter can be present where you are being sworn in? You are being sworn in surrounded by army commandos. And back then, you want to say, I won by 31 million votes. What's happening in Tanzania? Surely. Yani, rais anasema kwamba alishinda uchaguzi na takriban kura milioni 31. Lakini katika hafla ya kuapishwa, hakuna raia hata mmoja, na anaapishwa kwa amezingirwa na wanajeshi. Huo ndio ushindi gani? You know, sometimes this continent, the continent is watching unbothered. And I agree with Malema when Malema says this.
You speak about leaders in Africa. Do you think that SADC is playing in the role that it's supposed to play?
There's no such a thing. SADC, there's no such a thing. AU, there's no such a thing. It's a group of all people who protect each other. They don't protect the interests of their people. It's a club. It's a gentleman club. They don't care. They don't call each other out. So they are unable to say, you are wrong here, you are wrong there, and therefore this is how we need to fix it. And the way forward is that the youth must take politics serious. The youth must participate in politics. The youth must...
You know, I've seen the new AU chairperson, Mohamed Ali Yusuf, from Djibouti, is the first person who congratulated Suluhu while Tanzanians were being killed. I can bet you if Raila was the AU chairperson, he would have called out Samia Suluhu. If, I know this comes from the office of the African Union, yes, but Raila, even as a person, would have called out Samia Suluhu. Like AU, SADC, and all those, they cannot call out what's happening in Tanzania. Now, look at where the continent is facing more troubles. Mahmoud Yusuf, in his own country, the 77-year-old president, ruler, has actually changed the law to stay in power for a 6th term after taking reins of power in 1999. You know, so really, it is high time for the continent to speak. Do you know, even in Tanzania, there are Kenyans that have been killed. Our embassy here fears Suluhu so much, they cannot even call out that, except probably Sefuna in the spirit of ODM party. I've also seen the Somalian president congratulating Suluhu. There is also another letter from Emerson Mnangagwa, another Dictators Enterprise, a member of African Dictators Enterprise, Emerson Mnangagwa. And there've been a debate on, really, she's going to be sworn in tomorrow. I'm really waiting. You know, it is protocol, diplomatic protocol, to see countries congratulating. I'm really waiting for Kenya. If Kenya is going to congratulate Suluhu for that. I've listened to a soundbite from a military personnel who was reacting to the situation in Dar es Salaam, something that I would want us to pay attention to. He seems to be, he's really making sense in terms of what is happening in his own country.
Easy. Na ikishindwa, ikifikia mahala watu wakwambia uongozi wako, shida watu wanashindwa kuelewa maana ya kuwa kiongozi. Maana kuwa kiongozi sio tu kusifiwa. Kiongozi, ukishasema mimi nataka niwe kiongozi, ukubali kusifiwa na ukubali kukosolewa. It's normal. It's very totally normal kusifiwa. Good. Ukipata sifa, wewe kiongozi mzuri, shukuru Mungu, endelea kujinoa, endelea kuwa kiongozi mzuri. Lakini pia wakikukosoa watu, don't have attitude. Kwa sababu watu wanafata watu. In English you say people follow people. People, they don't follow titles. Unaweza ukawa kiongozi, kifano kwenye jeshi, unaweza ukawa na ranki kubwa lakini watu wasikuheshimu. Kwa sababu gani? People follow people. People follow your attitude, how you conduct yourself, how you talk to them, how you present to them. Watu wanakuheshimu wewe kama wewe unavyowatreat, how you treat people. That determine how good of a leader you are. Sio kukomandi watu wa kuheshimu. Huwezi kuwakomandi watu kuheshimu. Heshima na busara zinajengwa kwenye matendo yako kama kiongozi. Sisi wengine tunasema like kweli tupo mbali, tumetoka Tanzania. Tanzania ni nchi ya amani sana. Umeona, mimi nimezaliwa Tanzania, nimekuwa, sijawahi kuona fujo kubwa. Yes, of course sometimes tunakuwa tuna protest na hapa na pale, lakini sijawahi kuona fujo kubwa na watu kumkataa kiongozi kwamba atoke madarakani kama fujo inaendelea hapa. Kiasi cha kwamba inantia wasiwasi na hasira vitu vinavyoendelea. Imebidi niongee na viongozi wangu, like today nimeenda kwa address na viongozi wangu kwamba vitu vinavyoendelea katika nchi yangu nilozaliwa ABCD is not okay. It makes me feel uncomfortable kufanya kazi as a normal person, kusema kweli. I don't know. Sijui hata sometimes kuongea vitu kama hivyo. Unajua vitu ambavyo vinavyo affect your mental health. Like these are. Alafu nikiona nchi kama za Marekani, nchi kubwa zinaleta majeshi zake Afrika, zinaleta majeshi wake nchini kwenu, viongozi wanaanza kulalamika, msilete viongozi, nyinyi mnakuja kuharibu nchi za watu kwa kuleta wanajeshi wenu ndani ya nchi ambazo haziwahusu.
The leaders, if you are a leader, you are not King Solomon, you are not Jesus, you are not, in the same measure you are being criticized, you are being praised, you're being criticized. That is how our democracy is. Even in this country, there are those who chant 2 term. There are those who chant 1 term. No one should be condemned. As a leader, you must embrace both. You must embrace both. The youth revolution in the African continent is taking shape because young people have realized that what has stifled their growth, what has not made them to achieve their potential, is the fact that they have been staying away from the politics of the country. It is high time for the continent to understand and appreciate that the young people are moving closer to the table. And the moment they realize that they are pushing away from the table, you are pushing them away from that table, and they are seeing it, they're coming for that table. So the continent, the sitting president, the current crop of leaders we have, must rethink on how we engage moving forward. It is dawning on the continent that the word elections does not apply as a model of, as the bridge to transition. And that is why what's happening there, what's happening in Tanzania is people are demanding, guy, let's have this transition. That is what we're asking for. You just allow us to choose. The leaders must understand the bullets and weapons won't silence the voices. In fact, the bullets will embolden the voices. There is something that Nerima Wako said. I need to play that soundbite here.
And for me, the arguments I've been making, if the IEBC or democratic processes are not transparent, credible, and fair, forget having an election after 2027. Forget it. There's no way you're going to convince these young people that participate, get out and vote, and then that vote is rigged. There will be no peace in this country. That I can say very clearly right here, right now. And so we are actually at the brink of testing democracy. Because even when we look at our region, East Africa, we look at Uganda, we look at Tanzania, look at what's happening. They are learning from each other. Even when we talk about these agencies, there was a time that we were in town when Boni was submitting this letter in terms of the names of those who were killed during the protest. And I witnessed firsthand people coming without uniform, without cars, we don't know who they were, outside the Office of Interior, and there was a scuffle. When we went into the building and had a meeting with very high-level security officers or agents or whatever, the first thing the chair of the meeting said was, "What happened?" This is someone who is high up in security asking us what happened outside his office. And then looking at his head of security and saying, "Who are those people?" And his head of security saying, "Siwajui, sio wetu." I have never been so frightened in my life, because it now means that we actually have a parallel system of power. And these agencies don't want to be held accountable. For me,
this one, she said it in respect to Kenya. And we must learn, absence of war is not peace. Yes, Samia Suluhu regime jailed Tundu Lissu for 8 months. There was no war. But it didn't mean there was peace. Now, when it exploded, it has exploded. Without, and I want to say that also in respect to this country, we have a lot of lessons to understand. You know, Tanzania went to that election, to the day they were getting to the poll, no one even thought that it will break to that. I'm very sure even in the intelligence, they were so keen and they were like, "Oh, we are going to get away with it. These people are happy. Mama watu wanakupenda." Najua sana, ama Watanzania watuambia kwamba walikuwa wanajipanga kwamba walikuwa wanajua kwamba mambo itakuwa hivyo. Hawako wanajua kwamba maandamano itakuwa kubwa hivyo. Hata wale polisi. And so, it is imperative on the presidents to understand that peace is needed. And that peace comes with justice. Without political legitimacy, without political capital, even the legitimacy is at stake. I'm wondering, if you are a president who is being sworn in a military environment, surrounded by guns and bullets, how are you going to rule? How do you want to rule? How do you want to effect the change? If you have a dream for Tanzania, how will you achieve that dream if you cannot share a cup of tea with your people? It is very embarrassing for what is happening in Tanzania. And this is why the youth question has to be reframed and redefined. It has to be reframed. What Tanzanian young people asked for is not that we don't want Suluhu because Suluhu has not performed. They're not saying that. They're asking, give us the option. Just allow us to have the freedom space. That is simply what they're asking for. And I agree with Nerima Wako. We might not have an election if, let me tell you, do you think Kenya here can take us to an election? Not anyone. Not anymore. So these people who keep on saying, it is a very dangerous path. It is very risky for a country, for someone to ever think that you can have an election that smells like it was rigged. This is why the youth question has to be answered. And I want to tell the continent that the youth revolution is very complex. It does the aggravators, the accelerators of that agitation are so complex that you can't. Look at what's happening. Tanzania even had to shut internet and shut social media. But all over the world, people are talking about it. Now, those people, the internet has been shut. Yes, they're being killed, but they're waking up every morning and saying enough is enough. This youth revolution is a fire that has to be addressed. The system is so rigid to only serve the masters, and that is the big problem. Allow me to demonstrate that the rigidity of system in Tanzania. Electoral board is part of the election system, such that young people are dying in the streets mercilessly. But the electoral boss must read results and hand over the certificate to the president-elect. And before you know, the military has paraded everything for even swearing in. The system is so rigid, is so silent. Look at here. Our parliament is seeing videos in their phones of young people being shot just across the road. But they're stuck in parliament to pass a finance bill. Look at that. The next morning, they're in State House clapping for the president because the president has allegedly withdrawn that finance bill. Where are we heading as a country? So, and I like what the army guy said. As a leader, accept you'll get criticism. There is a time you'll get the claps, there's a time you'll get the criticism. The second point here is, there is a trend of those in power to suppress opposition. They are thinking like they are consolidating political capital to rule, but they are leaving the oppressed vulnerable. You know what needed to happen in Tanzania is this. If Tundu Lissu would have been allowed in the ballot, people would have voted for him. I strongly believe Suluhu could still have won that election. And you just need a simple majority. In Tanzania, you just need a simple majority and you are declared winner. So probably she could still have won, yes. But if you would allow the people to express, even if 40% they vote for Tundu Lissu and it is counted, they say they voted, they will rather go home saying, us, that is not our president, but we're there. Look like in Kenya. People vote. Raila is, the other person declared winner, Raila is in the opposition, but here's his people. That is very necessary. The third factor is this. Africa must understand that it is made up of a large mass of learned but unemployed cohort. People who have nothing to lose. And the bullets cannot scare them. May God help Tanzania get peace, justice in their quest for freedom. Thank you.